This is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, is coincidental. Father, I need to confess, right now. I can't keep this inside anymore. It's burning me alive. I did something 23 years ago. Something I buried so deep, I thought God himself had forgotten about it. But he didn't forget. And now it's back. She's back. I'm going to tell you everything, Father. Every ugly detail. Because if I don't say it out loud to someone, I think I'm going to lose my mind completely. It was 1979. Small town, the kind where everyone knows your business before you do. I was 24 years old, working at the church office, typing up bulletins, answering phones, organizing the donation records. That's where I met her. Margaret. She was 71. Widow. No children. Just her and that big house on Elm Street with the blue shutters and the rose garden she tended every single morning. She used to come in every Wednesday to drop off her tithe envelope, never mailed it, always hand-delivered it, and she'd stay and chat with me for 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. She'd bring me cookies, oatmeal raisin, made from her mother's recipe. She told me about her husband, how he died in the war, how she never remarried because she said true love doesn't come twice. She showed me pictures of him, young, handsome in his uniform. She'd cry a little, then she'd laugh, then she'd squeeze my hand and say, "You're such a good listener, dear. You remind me of the daughter I never had." I loved her, Father. I really did. But I wanted something more. I wanted out of that town, out of that cramped apartment above the hardware store where the heat never worked and the ceiling leaked every time it rained. I wanted to go to California, start fresh, maybe go to school, maybe just be somebody. And I had a boyfriend, Danny. He was 26, worked at the garage, had big dreams too, talked about opening his own shop someday. We were gonna leave together soon as we saved enough, but we weren't saving fast enough. I made $130 a week. He made maybe $200. Rent, food, gas, it all disappeared. Every month we'd count what was left and it was never enough. We needed $3,000 to make the move, get a place in LA, buy tools for Danny, give us a cushion. We had $412. Then one Wednesday, Margaret came in with her envelope like always. But this time she stayed longer. Told me she'd just come from the bank. She'd sold a piece of land her husband left her, out near the county line. Some developer wanted it for a strip mall. She got $18,000, cash. She said she didn't trust banks anymore. Said she was keeping it in the house, in a lockbox under her bed. She laughed when she said it, like it was a funny little secret. And I smiled, and I nodded, and I felt my heart start pounding, because all I could think was, that's enough. That's more than enough. I told Danny that night. We were sitting in his truck outside the diner. He'd just gotten off work, hands still black with grease. I said, Margaret's got 18 grand in her house. He looked at me. I said, she's old. She lives alone. She doesn't lock her back door half the time. He said, what are you saying? And I said, I'm saying we could take it, just enough to get us out. She'd never even know it was us. He said no at first. Said it was crazy. Said Margaret was a sweet old lady. Said we'd get caught. But I kept pushing. I told him she had so much she wouldn't even miss 3,000. I told him we deserved a chance. I told him we'd pay her back someday when we made it big. I lied to him, Father, and I lied to myself. A week later, we did it. It was a Thursday night, late, around 11. Margaret always went to bed at 9. I knew that because she told me. Danny drove. I told him where to park, 2 blocks away. We walked through the alley behind her house. The back door was unlocked, just like I said it would be. We went inside, quiet, so quiet. The house smelled like lavender and old wood. I led him upstairs. I'd been in that house before. She'd invited me for tea once, showed me around, told me stories about every room. I knew exactly where her bedroom was. We opened the door, and she was there, asleep, in her bed, covers pulled up to her chin, her glasses on the nightstand, a book face down beside her. She looked so small. Danny whispered, let's go. This is messed up. But I didn't stop. I went to the bed, got on my knees, reached under. The lockbox was right there. I pulled it out. It wasn't even locked, just latched. I opened it. Stacks of bills, 20s, 50s, hundreds, bundled with rubber bands. I took 3,000, maybe a little more. I don't even remember. My hands were shaking so bad. I put the box back. We left. She didn't wake up. She never knew we were there. We left town 2 days later, told everyone we were heading west to find work. People didn't ask questions back then. You just left. We got to LA, found a cheap place in Van Nuys. Danny got a job at a body shop. I worked at a grocery store. We used the money for the deposit, for tools, for gas, for groceries. It ran out in 4 months. We didn't make it, Father. We didn't become somebody. Danny started drinking. We fought all the time. He blamed me, said I turned him into a thief, said he couldn't sleep because he kept seeing her face. We broke up a year later. I moved back home. Not to the same town, 1 county over, got a job at a dentist's office, kept my head down, got married eventually, had 2 kids, got divorced, worked, paid bills, grew old, and I never told anyone. I buried it so deep. I convinced myself it didn't matter, that Margaret probably never even noticed the money was gone, that she died rich and comfortable and never knew. But I was wrong. 3 months ago, a new hygienist started at the office. Her name is Rachel. She's 26. Sweet, hardworking, always smiling. On her 2nd day, she mentioned she grew up 2 towns over. I asked where. She said the name of Margaret's town. I felt my chest tighten. I asked if she knew anyone from there. She said, not really. I was raised by my great aunt. She passed when I was 7, but I inherited her house, just sold it last year. I asked her name. She said, Margaret. Father, it's her, Margaret's great niece. The one she never talked about because they'd had some falling out years before. But Margaret left her everything, the house, the savings, everything. Rachel told me Margaret died in 2005, alone, in a state-run nursing home. She'd run out of money in the 90s, had to sell the house, sell everything, moved into a little apartment, then into assisted living, then into the state facility. Rachel said she tried to visit near the end, but Margaret didn't recognize her. Dementia. She died confused and scared and alone. If I hadn't taken that money, she could have stayed in her house, could have hired help, could have lived with dignity. But I took it. I stole her future, and she ended up dying in a place that smelled like disinfectant and fear. Rachel doesn't know. She has no idea. But she's always around me now, every single day, smiling, chatting, asking me for advice. She says I remind her of her aunt. Last week, she brought me cookies, oatmeal raisin. She said she found the recipe in a box of Margaret's things, said it was her great-grandmother's recipe. I couldn't eat them, Father. I took them home and I threw them away, and I locked myself in the bathroom and I sobbed until I couldn't breathe. And here's the worst part. I don't know if she knows. I don't know if this is all coincidence, or if somehow she found out and she's here, working next to me, watching me. She asked me yesterday if I ever lived in Margaret's town. I said no. She smiled. She said, funny, you just seem familiar somehow. Father, what do I do? Do I confess to her? Do I try to pay her back? Do I just keep pretending and hope it all goes away? She's coming back tomorrow. We work the same shift, and I don't know how much longer I can keep looking her in the eyes. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Every time she walks into the room, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I keep seeing Margaret's face, the way she looked that night, asleep, trusting, safe in her own bed. And I keep seeing her at the end, old, confused, dying in a place that wasn't home. Because of me. What do I do, Father? What do I do? She'll be there again tomorrow morning with that smile and those cookies. And I don't know if I'm losing my mind or if she's waiting for me to break. What do I do? Please tell me what to do.